te kumanga mai o te tangata. Iro te I te ahui mo ai ka taka te pai.
Right, read it? Yeah. Yeah.
Well done. Excellent.
There you go, baby. You're on your own.
Beautiful.
Pete, would you and Mona like to keep the placenta?
Yeah.
Good.
You put it in this?
Each stage of our journey through the cycle of life, death and beyond is marked by ceremony. And the journey through life begins with a burial. The whenua burial is an ancient custom which the Māori brought with them from Hawaii, the home of their ancestors.
It
is important to return the whenua, placenta, to the whenua, land, so the child will know where he or she comes from.
We know now that baby belongs here. Belongs here. No matter where you go, whether you go back to your homeland, this will bring her back here.
When we decided to make a series of documentaries about our people, a people the rest of the world call Polynesians, we thought we'd begin with the burial of my baby's whenua, or placenta. The naming of the placenta after the land and its return to the land is one of the many traditions that our people have in common. From as far north as Hawaii to Te Pito o Te Henua, or Easter Island in the east, and Aotearoa, New Zealand in the south. As a people, many outsiders have told our story, but for this series, we wanted to tell our own.
Wihi karaiti hoki o mātou hariki Amini.
Amini. Oh, I'm last. Oh.
What about the story about your whenua?
Well, I wouldn't know that part. I didn't ask my parents or wasn't interested. All I know, it just went down the drain.
Mona, what do the women in Samoa do with their whenua?
Oh, it's very much the same as here. You know, it's called whanua, after the land, and it's buried in the land, just like here. But one of the main differences in Samoa when celebrating these sorts of things is the giving of fine mats. You can't celebrate anything in Samoa without them. Ia tonga, fine mats, are the most precious of ceremonial gifts in Samoa. They are the nation's wealth created by women. Depending on the quality of the weave, one fine mat alone could take years to make. But they are not items to be kept. They're constantly given in ceremonial exchange. This exchange gives a fine mat a genealogy of its own. The older, and therefore the longer its circulation amongst people, the more status the fine mat, as well as the ceremony in which it is given. Wha'awhai ngā tama is the ceremonial welcoming of a couple's firstborn baby into the ainga, the family. This occasion involves both the mother's and the father's family. As in all important occasions, it begins with the sharing of the ava, a respectful welcome and acknowledgement of all who are present. A little of the ava is always tipped on the ground as an offering to the gods. The tula fale, or orators, speak on behalf of the ali'i, the high chiefs of the two families. The orators of the father's family announces the gifts of money for the mother's family. In the days before money, the father's side would present men's wealth, usually carved goods and the fruits of the land. The orators of the mother's family thanks them and announces the gifts for the father's family. First, vailolo, young coconut. More, chicken. Paelo, salted beef. And finally, the ietonga, the fine mats. Fine mats are women's wealth, so it is from the woman's side that they are given, and to the women of the men's side that they are received. A baby is the symbol of unity between families, and clears the way for these two families to become one. For in Samoa we say, "Va'ai matao le pepe," look at the face of the baby. Ua mutia le ala, the way is now clear. The special care given to infants in the Pacific is extended to the mother also. In Samoa, the mother of a newborn baby is called Failele. She must not do any taxing work, and her needs will be met by the ainga. The belief is very practical, really. If the mother falls ill, then there will be no milk for the baby. Throughout our region, children are based on the mother. This can be seen even in the language we use to describe them. In Tonga, an infant is referred to as moheofi, the mother's upper arm on which a baby is cradled. And when older, kaliloa, the mother's lower arm on which a child may rest. We have no word for aunt or uncle. All in our parents' generation are mother or father figures who share in the responsibility of the children's care and discipline. Respect is the cornerstone of our relationships with each other, from the children to the parents, to the elders, to the chiefs, and between brothers and sisters. In Samoa, the respect of a brother to his sister is a covenant called the whiangainga. In Tonga, the sister is called mehikitanga, and throughout her life, she is to be honored by her brother and his children as well. Without this code of respect, large groups such as our extended families could not function. This family in Niuean have been gathering food for 3 months in preparation for a ceremony which marks another stage in a person's life. And the men have been up all night cooking it. The head of the family planted most of the vegetables and fruit here, and these include 10 varieties of talo. All this involved detailed planning ahead.
I make a plan to work to 1 year ahead. I prepare the talo plantations and organize the fishing. This is our traditional way of preparing for our children's ear piercing.
Though they have food enough to feed an army, they are not wealthy. The family from as far away as Aotearoa and the United States of America have pooled their resources and contributed to the occasion. I see the day has been very good, beautiful and fine. The sky is good. There is plenty of food prepared for our child's ear piercing. Women have spent months weaving, sewing, embroidering and amassing household goods. Goods which are required by a woman who has come of age. Because the ear-piercing ceremony is an important rite of passage for young women in the island of Niuean. The gifts of money are presented by guests. The gifts of cloth, tivaivai or patchwork quilts, and mats continue the tradition of providing daughters with household goods. These are given by the family itself. The generosity and labor of all involved is overwhelming. The lime tree thorn is used to pierce the ear and is pushed through the lobe into a tiny coconut placed behind. There are no painkillers or ice to numb the lobes. As in many of our gatherings, this is an opportunity for the family to cement relationships with each other and the rest of their community. It's also an opportunity for the father to display his industry at fishing, gardening, and his ability to provide. Today, almost the whole of the township of Alofi are here to take part, and they will all be fed handsomely. But not all the food is to be eaten today. Most of it has been left uncooked to serve as food parcels for the visitors to take home. The parcels are made up of talo, chicken, pork, fish, and tins of corned beef. Like all such exchanges in the Pacific, the quality and quantity of the gift will give an indication of services received or required. The song they sing says that of all the nations of the Pacific, Samoa is well known for tattoo. In fact, the word tattoo comes from the Samoan word tatau. We believe the tattoo came to us from a place called Fiti, but we don't all agree on where Fiti is. Some say it is Fiji, others say Fiti is either the place where the sun rises or where the sun sets. And for a Samoan, that would mean either Manua in the east or Savai'i in the west. The women's tattoo is called malu and the men's be'a. Our history tells us that the tattoo was originally for women. The two women who brought the secrets of the tattoo from Fiti chanted as they swam that only women, not men, were to be tattooed. But they got distracted diving for clams, and when they resumed their journey, they mistakenly chanted that it was for men and not women. The malu represents the dignity of women and is named after the eye, which is tattooed on the back of the knee. For the woman, a malu is an adornment and is often worn by women of rank, though the choice is there for all. This father has brought his daughter to be tattooed by the Tufunga Tatau Awhionga Su'a.
Ya, fio mai am kala mai ao.
He must be sure of his daughter's ability to stand the pain, because there is no greater shame than a tattoo that has been left unfinished, and the shame is borne by the whole family. To be called a tufunga, as Awhionga Su'a is to be regarded as someone who is a master in his field, and they command a great deal of respect. His expertise is acknowledged with a presentation, as we've seen before, of fine mats and money.
My father learned it from somebody else, and then it's passed down to us. And within the family, there are 12 tufungas from my father. Every pattern, every design comes from my head. No, I don't have to look at the picture or think up something. I just put down according to the size of the person.
The tufunga's instruments are as they have been for centuries. Chisels with teeth carved from a boar's tusk and a wooden mallet.
It depends on how well a person can stand the pain. If I start on this woman here and she moves, I have to do designs that faster. Will give her less pain than the designs that I was intending to put on.
The men's be'a, on the other hand, has a certain uniformity because it was traditionally a rite of passage for young men.
It's supposed to be something special to the parents to be given to their sons. See, in the past, you don't have to want a tattoo. You grow up as a boy, pretty soon you'll get a tattoo.
The be'a is darker and more detailed than the woman's malu, and therefore much more painful. Just as women bear the pain of childbirth, men must bear the pain of the be'a. The designs reflect the life and environment and are metaphors for qualities admired in Samoa. The first part to be tattooed is the va'a, or canoe. As with all in the Pacific, we depend on the sea for our survival. The dark, together with the rays of selu, or comb, are protection in time from leao, the morning, to lepo, the night. Above the waist are the upenga, or fishing nets which hold the generations of the wearer's family. The mothers on the left, the fathers on the right. The pute, or belly button, houses the soul. It is the last section to be completed, and when it is done, the tufunga will define the nature of the soul. The newly finished tattoos, still very painful, are soothed with turmeric and coconut oil. But as the song says, when the pain is gone, the pride will take over. The pride of completion will be shared by their families, and the self-knowledge gained by the wearers will hold them in good stead. The egg is the symbol of rebirth. They must now follow the path most admired by Samoa. Le ala I le pule o le tautua. The path to authority is through service. The tattoo, whether it be for women or for men, establishes the wearer as truly Samoan. dances in Fiji are celebrating the installation of a chief whose ceremony took place earlier in the day. A true chief, in the Fijian belief, was always poor because his people went to him when they were in need. But the chief is also believed to be rich in heart, and his most precious possessions are the people of his community. This is a signal that the tambua is about to be presented. Of the many rituals enacted by the Fijian people, the installation of a chief is one of the most sacred. While the ceremony is in progress, silence in the village must be observed. The reverence goes back to the belief that the chiefs were appointed by God. The ceremony is called Niuean. The tambua, or whale's tooth, is the most important symbol used in the installation of a chief, and it's an essentially Fijian symbol. Tambu means forbidden, sacred, just like the European derivation, taboo. Wa is the sinnet cord attached to the whale's tooth and symbolizes communication between the chief and the people. The people call it ka wakaturanga, a chiefly thing, and its value cannot be defined in terms of money.
Abura. Yeah.
Like all our precious ceremonial objects, the tambua is never kept for oneself. It's always given in ceremony.
So ngai tu ko tu nang ko boturanga. Rose.
As in Samoa with the ava, no significant ceremony in Fiji can be celebrated without the yangona or kava. The tūranga, or chiefs, and their mātani vanua, orators, must occupy the upper part of the house. While the lower part is used for those preparing the yangona. The paramount chief sits directly opposite the sau, the cord which is attached to the tānoa, which is the yangona bowl. The tānoa is the female entity, the bearer of water and plant from the Mother Earth. The sau is symbolic of the umbilical cord, and is stretched out towards the son of the land, the paramount chief. The chief has been entrusted with the full responsibility of leading the people, and the festivities begin.
Why?
The new chief has brought the title to life. He has become all the title holders who went before him, back through the ages to its beginnings with the gods. It's this genealogical link with the gods which is central to the respect we must pay to each other. Along with our responsibility to the land and sea, we are responsible for each other. All are sacred, all are descended from the gods. Our gods fought, procreated, avenged, and loved, and we, their children, reflected much of their behavior. Often the gods mingled in the affairs of people, leaving behind offspring from their relationships with those on earth. The Tuitonga, king of ancient Tonga, was the son of the god Tangaloa and a human mother. This genealogy gave him and his descendants the divine right to rule.
It is a sacred belief that Tuitonga's father was a god. He was therefore regarded and served as a god also. That is the reason for the terms used in prayers to God, like living God, derived from the perception that Tuitonga was God.
The Ha'amonga on Tonga's island of Tongatapu is one of the few structures which remain from the time of the Tuitonga. And behind it, the Tuitonga's chair, a reminder of an era when his father, the god Tangaloa, headed the dynasty of gods in Tonga. In the beginning, nothing existed but Tangaloa Fa'atuputupunuu, the creator, and then Papa, a rock, grew from where he stood. Tangaloa spoke to the rock, and the earth was born, the mother of all people.
Ai nā le langi, malelangi, malelangi.
O le langi, langi a mafolo.
This begins one of the ancient creation chants of Samoa. Tangaloa was our creator, and these small islands were tossed down from the heavens as his stepping stones. Tangaloa is called Kanaloa in Hawaii, Ta'aroa in Tahiti, and Tangaroa in the Cook Islands and Aotearoa. In the same way, the generic word for people in our different nations is Tangata, Kanaka, and Ta'ata. They are all variations of a common ancestry.
Yo tau luola, ia tofu manafa, ia iai whaiwa mtufunganga, mai li fuafuanga. Suli tutusa sa Tangaloa.
Many centuries ago, some branches of the original family left home. We settled islands thousands of miles distant and developed distinctive languages, customs, crafts, and ways of living. In our travels, our gods moved with us. Pele, Hawaii's god of volcanoes, came from Kahiki, Hawaiian for Tahiti, bringing
kahigina akaukawa aimbo noho igaua o kumalai akupelema ikeki noho ikeki abelema akahapua oho eli kaumai holo mai pele mai kahigina kahiki mai kauhine o Pele is a chant that we got from our forefathers for many generations about the coming of Pele to Hawaii. And it tells us from Kahiki, the woman Pele arrives.
All the volcanoes are her domain, but Mount Kilauea on the big island of Hawaii is where she resides in her home, the fire pit, Hale Ma'u. Pualani Kanaka Ole Kanahele is a kumuhula, a doyen of dance. The knowledge has been handed down through the generations of her family. She and her family pay tribute to Pele. As they dance, they always turn toward the east, because Pele is known as the deity of the east.
Here she is at the eastern gate of the archipelago. So she and her sister Hi'iaka Kapoli o Pele both are known as the deities of the east and the deities of the rising sun, the deities of creation. And creation for us is always in the east. The other sister, who was, say, another side of Pele, who was thought of as being very sweet, very mild, was Hi'iaka Kapoli o Pele. Her function in the family was as a healer. And she did not only heal her family and the people that she met as she went on her journey, but she also healed the land. And so as her sister would erupt and devastate the land, which looked like, something that has been through lots and lots of wars, and all the trees were down, there's nothing on it but steam and black rocks for miles, and it looked unlivable. This other sister then would come in, and with her kinolaus, or her body forms of ferns, of a little growing thing, would cause the land to live again. The dancers are trained to go into the forest and pick only the greenery that they need to do the dances. When they go into the forest, they are told to ask permission to pick these different vegetations. After they've finished wearing the greenery, they take the greenery and take it back to the forest.
Oh.
Pele erupts often enough here for us to be reminded, that she exists, and she's still building our island here on Hawaii and Puna and Kau. And whenever she erupts, it jars our mind and says, okay, pay attention here. I'm still here. I'm still here in Keiki, and na mai, look at me. And so she gives us that reminder, like a cranky old grandmother, who still reminds us who's boss in the house.
The style of their hula is called a ha'a, performed low to the ground, symbolizing the energy they receive from these gods of the earth, Pele and her sisters Laka and Hi'iaka. Our carvings are not inanimate objects. They were imbued with spirit and are living representations of our gods and ancestors. Te Pito o Te Henua, the navel of the world, is the ancestral name for what is now called Easter Island. Today, Rapa Nui is the name the people call their home. The ahu, the platforms on which the statues rest, are sacred to the Rapa Nui. They were there before the statues and house the iwi, the bones of their ancestors. For Petero Edmonds, the ahu is central to tradition.
Is a place for meeting where the king or the chief, the ariki mau, ariki paka, meets with the people, with the whole whanau, or hanau we say. There is also a sanctuary. All this we call ahu, which is the platform. Then with the time, they add the moai to the ahu. The moai is the living portrait of the ancestor. Is a way to show the people that the ancestor is still alive. And so underneath the moai, there is tunnels, what we call avanga, where the iwis are buried. So the spirit of that ancestor still continue to live. So the moai sort of like, is not the right word to use, but reincarnates what the ancestor wants. We have approximately 350 ahu moai. All of them are located near the coast. The only reason for that is for the purpose of washing the bones. They do wash the bones once a year. And also at the same time we do a ceremony which is a circle where elders get together, and it will be a medium, an iwi atua will be in the middle, and he will reincarnate back the spirit of whoever they want to call. And this medium will be the mediator between that spirit and the people within that circle. And anybody could ask the questions they want to ask to the spirit, like how they're doing with their crops, how the future days are, how the fishing is going to be. All this is the communication between the spirit and the people.
The volcanic rock from which the statues were made came from this quarry on the crater of the volcano Ranoraraku. It was the territory of the Tupahotu tribe, the stoneworkers who carved the moai. Yet these massive statues, ranging from 3 to 20 meters in height and weighing between 3 to 100 tons, were moved from this quarry up over the ridge of the volcano to around the coastline of the island where most of them stand today. How they did this has mystified outsiders for years, but not the Rapa Nui.
According to our history, the moai walk with mana. Now, so many people have laughed at this and said that how could a rock walk by itself? If we study a little bit about the meaning, the true meaning of what is said, the moai walk with mana. Te moai he haere te moai he mana. The translation of this means that the moai were walked by people utilizing mana. Mana in this case is knowledge, wisdom, power from heaven. So they had a knowledge that we are not able today to understand, which happens in many other cultures, in many other places in the world. So they had that knowledge here, which they utilize it on the moai. They made the moai walk.
There is often a fine line between our ancestors and our gods, and in many cases they are one and the same. So it's common for our ancestors to be present in all things of value created by our tufunga or tohunga, the masters of craft. In Aotearoa, it is the traditional carvers today like tohunga Paki Harrison who are, among others, the guardians of knowledge.
This particular meeting house is unique because it belongs to a group of people who come from a diversity of tribes of iwi. So therefore we have had to go back to a very ancient tahuhu in order to bring all the genealogies together. The kings of the Marquesas, the Tahiti, Rarotonga, and down into our country. So there you have those links, not only linking in the Pacific Islands, but also linking all the various tribes which make up this little community of ours.
Paki also carved this meeting house. It's a living human metaphor complete with a carved memory bank that holds the genealogical links for the Māori with their ancestors and gods.
You have in every house or canoe a tahuhu, the main genealogical line. And then you have the kawe. Those are the ribs that come off, the ancestor. And from those ribs, you have the popo. They are the wall pillars. And each of those are linked to the main line, which is the spinal column or the ridgepole. So inside a meeting house, those links are very, very real.
So when they are welcoming the guests or farewelling the dead, the ceremony is held here in the presence of the ancestors. The key to the carved genealogical memory bank is unlocked in oratory, and the wairua, or spirit of the ancestors, are joined with their descendants.
We are constantly with them. Doesn't matter whether they're here in a visible form or not. When we stand up in our marae and we farewell our dead, we make constant reference to those who have departed before them. And then we refer to the lines which join us. The living and the dead are always linked. They can't help it. You are linked genetically anyway. So spiritually, you are linked too.
This is the cemetery where my father's buried. I've often heard the old people call it the marae of the dead. When we were born, our placentas returned to Papatuanuku, Mother Earth. So we know who we are and where we come from. When we die, our bodies are returned to her. The spirit begins a journey back to a place called Hawaii, the ancestral home of our people. The departure point of our spirit, or wairua, is here at Te Rerenga Wairua, the far north, the place our old people talk and sing about.
Ruia, ruia, tahia, tahia, ke he moke ko te kākoa. Ki herea mai ki te kawau kuroki, e tātaki mai ene roto i tana pūkoro, koro, hoi karo. He kua ka marangaranga, o tahi tau atu ki te tau tahuna, tau atu, tau atu, tau atu. Re te ao e ku mei rukala o mai kia mea i te tua i te tanga.